You're watching E.T.N. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're finally going to do our review and spoiler discussion for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, there is a lot to talk about, so I apologize in advance if this video exceeds even 15 minutes. And I delayed my review. I actually wanted to do it last night and didn't get around to it. My wife's been sick, unfortunately, so I had the kids all day, and by the time they went to bed, I was sleepy. But today is probably the best day to do this because by now, everybody has seen this movie. Everybody can give their input, and we can go from there. Now, let's get right into the spoiler talk. Now, in terms of how I felt about the movie, overall, I enjoyed it. It's hard not to enjoy this movie because it does have some elements in it that are just fantastic and really gets you excited for what the DCU has to offer in the coming future. But unfortunately, because it's such a long movie, it gives a lot of opportunity for screw-ups, and it has a lot of them. Now, let's talk about the stuff in the movie that I didn't like. Well, actually, let's start with the good first. We'll start with the good. Obviously, I agree with the masses. I think Ben Affleck's Batman is fantastic. I think he's brought a whole new meaning to the character. And the fact that he killed people in this movie did not bother me. If you remember the Tim Burton movies, he killed quite a few people there too, and a lot of people weren't up in arms about that. So I don't know why they're up in arms now. Maybe it's a new generation or whatnot. Whatever the case may be. But I think also him killing people was a way to give an opportunity for him to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? To kind of redo himself sometime later. Now that the Superman thing happened and all that. But Batman was fine. His gadgets were great. His suit was fantastic. The fighting was great. The Batmobile was awesome. So no complaints on the Bruce Wayne Batman end of it. And in fact, I'm very happy that Ben Affleck turned out to be better than expected because we all remember some time ago, people were up in arms about him even being casted. So the fact that he came and proved the naysayers wrong and shut their mouth was just a great feeling. Other things I like, obviously the cinematography, the special effects were fantastic. Zack Snyder's movies always good in that account. So that's to be expected, and he delivered on that end. So no problems there. I did like some of the Easter eggs. I thought they were placed well. Believe it or not, I think Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is an acquired taste for this movie. I personally liked it. I think he was a little quirky, but in a movie that's so serious and in a movie that has very little humor, at least for me personally, he provided a little bit. So not going to hate on Jesse Eisenberg's Luthor. I thought he did a great job. And Wonder Woman was very, very entertaining. It was very nice to see Gal Gadot get in there and show what she's made of. And I'm very much looking forward to the Wonder Woman movie. Superman was fine for me. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I liked Man of Steel a great deal. So I wish I would have seen more of him, but he was fine. And the storyline in some areas were really, really good. Now, the bad. And this is, it's funny. A lot of people talking about different elements of the movie that they were bad, and it's all the same. But the thing that killed it for me, the thing that pretty much ruined the movie for me, was the death of Superman. And I'm gonna elaborate on this a bit because you guys know I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm not too up on DC. However, the death of Superman is one of, if not the biggest DC story ever created. In 1992, when that comic first hit, it was worldwidely talked about. It was even on the news. I never forget sitting at home and watching the news at 6 p.m. and they're talking about this comic because it was that big of a deal. And to take a story that means so much to the DCU, to take a story that was as impactful as it was when it came out and meant something to everybody, not just DC fans, Marvel fans alike, and to cluster it down into a couple of moments of the movie was completely and utterly just disrespectful in my eyes. Just completely disrespectful. I'm a big Superman fan, and that is a storyline that could have made such a great movie in and of itself. The fact that they did it at the end was it was heartbreaking to watch. Not because he died, because they actually did that. And what's worse is, DC fans talk about all these great villains they have over Marvel, and it's not really that their villains are any better. It's just the fact that Marvel has shitted on their villains in their movies. You know, outside of Loki and Kingpin now, there really hasn't been any villains in the movies. I mean, Kingpin's on the show, but he is the second best villain in the MCU right now. But there really hasn't been any other villains in the movies that have stood out like Loki. Doomsday gets the same treatment here. You take a villain like Doomsday, a villain of his caliber, and you just mark it down to like the last 20 minutes of the movie. And I know there's some people saying, well, he might come back. Well, right now he's dead. And until he comes back, he's not worth a shit. He got the Marvel treatment at the end of the movie. So that was very disappointing. So the death of Superman was just completely lame. And I can't believe they shoehorned that in. They could have made a Man of Steel sequel and done that movie and then made a third movie where he comes back like in the comic. So that probably ruined the movie for me altogether. But yes, there were other things in the movie that I did not like. First of all, the length. This movie was just too goddamn long. It was so long. And I knew it was going to be long because before the movie, I went to the bathroom. And I'm not saying a movie that's 2.5 hours long is a bad thing. Lord of the Rings are fantastic. I can watch the extended editions a million times and never get bored. That's the problem. If a movie makes you feel like it's long, it's because there's certain elements of the story that are not enticing or that are not grasping you or that you're getting lost in some of the translation as we go from scene to scene. That's what happens in this movie. There's a lot of things in the movie that they can cut out, you know, and just get to the point. So that was another thing. Wonder Woman, as much as I loved her, was really not needed in this movie. Now, granted, her being in this movie helps her own movie. It really promotes, you know, people to go see Wonder Woman. But in terms of story and in terms of anything else regarding the movie, she wasn't needed. So she was kind of shoehorned in there. I don't think it hurt the movie too much, but it didn't add to the movie. But it was fun to see her. That I can't deny. It was fantastic to see her. Some other things about the movie, you know, not enough Superman. And what's ironic is this really did feel like a Man of Steel sequel because it all surrounds the things regarding Superman. So the fact that that was one of the primary elements of this movie, yet you got very little Superman, this didn't make any sense. This next complaint is kind of like a catch-22 because as much as I loved Ben Affleck's Batman, and as much as I love this new iteration of Batman, and I'm looking forward to the new movies that Ben Affleck's going to direct regarding Batman, can we give Batman a rest here? Can we just really, really, really... I mean, I know he's DC's bread and butter, but they're so riding the coattail of Batman that it's hurting the other characters. Like, you know, we already know he's going to be in Suicide Squad. I think the fact that he was in this movie definitely detracted from Superman, which is just sucks. That just sucks. Because if they build Superman correctly and if they do things correctly regarding Superman, he can have just as much clout as Batman in the movies. I mean, I understand people love the character because he's a man and, you know, the fact that he can do these amazing things and he doesn't have superpowers. I know that's the appeal. With that said, to be fair, I am very, very happy that they didn't come up with some crazy fucking way for Batman to get involved in the Doomsday fight. He did very little. He was basically dodging Doomsday, and that at least made me happy. Because if he had come out and did something crazy, like punched him or something like that, I would have been like, oh man, really? But at least in that fight, he was who he was supposed to be. A fucking spectator, okay? So he was a spectator. And he did the one thing that he should be doing. Used one of his gadgets to weaken Doomsday. So that worked fine. Believe it or not, the Batman versus Superman fight, I know there's a lot of people complaining about the fact that, you know, the fight was short compared to the rest of the movie and it's the title. But I thought the fight was fine. I didn't have a problem with the fight. In fact, I like the fact that Batman was the one beating his ass most of the time because, you know, they showed the kryptonite and he's beating Superman's ass and then Superman gets his powers back and then Batman looks scared as shit and then he hits him with another grenade. I like that back and forth. And I like the fact that you clearly can see that Clark is reluctant to fight him at first. In fact, he's asking for his help. And, he basically gets annoyed with him. And he starts just pushing him. And I love the fact that every time he did something to Batman, you see the pain on Batman's face. Like, I mean, think about it. You're a regular man. Forget the fact that you have an armored suit on, because that's not 100% pain proof. Imagine you're a regular man being shoved through a brick building. Oh my God, most people would die. If it wasn't for his armor, he would have died. So I thought Superman was pretty brutal in some portions of that fight. I mean, yeah, he has armor on, but you just pushed a regular man through a fucking building. He's not Zod, Supes. Come on, take it easy on the guy. But the fight itself was good because it also showed you the inexperience of Clark, the experience of Batman, and the fact that on an even scale, if Superman was a man, Batman could beat him because he knows how to fight, where Superman just relies on his brute strength. He doesn't really know how to fight. He doesn't have any skill. Not yet, at least. So that to me, the fight was okay. The fight was fine. And the fact that it only lasted that long, to me, wasn't a big deal. These guys are really not supposed to be fighting, And another thing people are complaining about were the motivations for certain characters like Lex and Batman, Superman, and so forth. I thought the motivations were simple. I think that's what it is. I think people wanted something a little bit more extravagant as to why these two would fight and why Lex would do what he's doing to Superman. But it's simple. It's as simple as Lex hates Superman. Lex hates Superman. Do we know why he hates him? No, they don't get into that detail. But, I mean, there could be 101 reasons why he hates Superman. Jealousy. The whole thing about thinking he's a god and all that. Fear is a good factor. That's pretty much why Batman is other than the fact that he feels he was the cause of the death of some of his, close co-workers. And as far as Superman's motivation to fight Batman, well, I mean, what better motivation do you need than your mother's life's at stake? So I don't think the motivations I don't think they were not there. I just think people wanted more, and their motivations to do what they did were very cliche, very unoriginal. And in a movie with this kind of clout, I think people wanted more. They wanted something a little bit more, something not cliche, so to speak. Overall, I thought the movie was good, but yes, it does have tons of flaws. I gotta say, to be fair, I think the critics are hammering it a little too hard. It depends what critic you read. See, where I have a problem is when I go to read a critic's review of something, and if they have an issue with it, there's a certain way you deliver your professional review. There are professional reviewers who will discuss the film and critique it with proper grammar and English. And then there's other reviewers who say, oh, it was slop of shit, or it was just using words to really emphasize how bad the movie is, which that's kind of when I'm like, all right, well, I mean, that's something I would do because I'm not a professional critic. That's something I expect from another YouTuber. But when I go to read an article in one of these mainstream media outlets and they're writing the review in such a way that it almost sounds like they're purposely trying to bring down the movie, that to me is a bit of an issue. But overall, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the reviews don't matter. That's clearly been evident this weekend. The movie's made tons of money. A lot of people went to see it. I'm going to be very interested on how well it keeps up next week because right now, with the money it's making, it's clearly on its way to $1 billion. Whether or not it maintains its steam going into next weekend remains to be seen. Fans seem to be very split, so I'm guessing that it is going to have a significant drop. But there's a lot of DC fans that do love this movie. There's a lot of people who do love this movie, and they may go see it again. There's people who are questioning whether or not they like it. They've seen it again. So it's going to make its money, all right? And this is their first movie. I really wish they didn't throw all their eggs in one basket. That death of Superman is such a disappointing move when you consider how big of a storyline that is in the DCU. And this is coming from a guy who's a Marvel fan. But I remember as a kid when that dropped on the news, on the nightly news, they were talking about a comic book. That's how big that story was. That's how big it was. And that's how iconic a character like Superman is. So you can't treat him like that. And it's so disappointing they did it. With that said, I think I know why. I was emotionally invested in this Superman, unlike a lot of people, and that's because I saw Man of Steel and I enjoyed Man of Steel. And the Superman we have right now is a Superman that is flawed, a Superman that is young, inexperienced. He has not learned yet he has not learned, first of all, how to take the criticism he's getting from the world. He has not yet learned to understand what he means to the world, whether people like him or hate him. This Superman is not the Superman he has not grown yet into the Superman that we remember from the Christopher Reeve days. And I think that's why a lot of people don't like the Superman. They see Superman movie, and they think Christopher Reeves. This Superman character is not there yet. I think he's about to hit that pinnacle now. Now that he's died, now that he's made the sacrifice, and now that people really see he's good, when he returns, you're going to see the Superman that all of us grew up with in the Christopher Reeves era. That's the Superman we're going to get. And that's the Superman that I think is going to lead the Justice League. That's the Superman that's going to inspire Batman to become a crime fighter that doesn't kill. That's the Superman that's going to bring other heroes together. And that is what excites me about Superman going forward. If they do that, if they go that route, which I think that's what they're trying to do. But again, I have to keep in mind that Warner Brothers and DC are Batman riders. And if they continue to ride this Batman train without fleshing out their other characters, and so far they're doing other movies, but if they continue to ride that Batman train in these primary movies where they all get together, that's going to hurt more than it's going to do any good. It's kind of like MCU. They rode Iron Man up until they felt Cap was ready to bring up. They brought up Cap. Now Cap and Iron Man are on even keel. And that's why you had the Civil War movie. That's why Winter Soldier was such an epic movie. Captain is now cinematically on the same echelon as Iron Man because MCU rode Iron Man just enough, and when they had the time to flesh out these characters and make the focus, they struck when the iron was right, when the iron was hot. DCU needs to do the same thing with their characters, and they really need to give Batman a break. He's already getting his own trilogy again. He's going to be in Suicide Squad. You already know people are going to come to see him. So take that opportunity to leverage him to build your other characters, much like the MCU did. I'm not saying that they should be like the MCU, but I'm saying that they should definitely follow a format similar in terms of building the characters because they need to, because they have fantastic characters. Superman's great. I love The Flash. I want to see that. In terms of all the other spoilers, and I know this video is, like I said, it's super long. It's going on 20 minutes now. The Flash spoiler was cool. I like the Cyborg spoiler only because if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it says Star Labs, which I like. That was cool. Again, Wonder Woman was fine. The Aquaman one was okay. You know, it was kind of funny. It was okay. But look, overall, the movie was good. It was a little too long. The Superman thing is what killed it for me. That's what, like, if they had not done that, I probably would have given the movie like a 7. They did that, and I have to give it like a 5 or a 4. It was just that bad. And that's because I grew up during the time that story came out, and I know the impact. In fact, I have the comics. I should have bought them up and showed them. That's how much it meant to me when I grew up. I have those comics. You know what I mean? I even have the foil one. It's not a foil. It's like a 3D thing where you see Batman and Superman in a suit, and you turn the comic, and he bursts out of his suit and he flies up. So I understand the impact of that storyline, and the fact that they threw it in there and they shoehorned it in for the last 10 minutes was just god awful. But you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think for the most part they'll be fine. They're gonna make their money. They're gonna learn from these mistakes. I do think they need to lay off Zack Snyder. They need to bring some fresh blood, some fresh eyes into their universe, and they do need to light it up a little bit. They do need to light it up. Man of Steel was good because some of the big fights were during the day. This whole movie was dark. There was no light moments in this movie in terms of visual spectacle during these fights. So that was kind of crappy. The whole Lois Lane thing, I don't know why she continues to need to be involved in shit that goes on, but for some reason she is. Maybe it's on Amy Adams' contract. She showed a lot of cleave in this movie, which is not a bad thing. So, but that's cool. I just noticed that, like, she was in the tub, and then she went to the office, and she's wearing this thing and she's showing cleavage. And I'm like, she didn't do that in Man of Steel. Why is she showing so much cleavage? So, but yeah, overall, look, in terms of, and last thing I want to touch on before I go, I know this video is stupid long. In terms of the division between fans and critics and all that, if you love the movie, man, just love the movie. Don't worry about what people like me, because me too, I poke fun at DC fans all the time because it's fun. But the fact of the matter is it's very exciting to see now that they're there now. They put it out. It's out there. Love it or hate it, it doesn't matter. They're going forward with it. And I think we're going to have some great superhero movies going forward. And it's something to be excited about overall. So, but yes, Batman vs. Superman, super flawed. A bad move at the end, too long. But overall, I did enjoy it. So, anyway, guys, that's it for this video. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers or visit E.T.N's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description.